There was an interesting moment earlier today involving President Donald Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Xi asked Trump what the U.S. would do if China invaded Taiwan. And Trump replied, quote, "I don't talk about that. There's only one person who knows that. You know who he is? Me," end quote. So politically, people will interpret that exchange in very different ways. Psychologically, it's fascinating. And what made Trump's response feel powerful was not just the words themselves, it was the emotional positioning beneath the words. See, Z was asking for clarity. Z was testing Trump. Z wanted to know from Trump's mouth to his ears how Trump would respond if China invaded Taiwan. That doesn't mean China plans to invade Taiwan. Z just wanted to feel out Trump. Like, just how firm are you on this? Just how far can I push this, right? And Trump, possibly instinctively knowing what Z was doing, that Z was pushing him and squeezing him for an answer, right? Have you ever been in negotiations with somebody and you know what they're doing and you have to respond accordingly? So Trump had the wherewithal, the self-awareness to respond with uncertainty. You see, Z wanted to see Trump's cards. They're playing poker, and Z was looking around like, let me see if I can see his cards. I'd like to know what he's holding. You know, what are you really holding, right? I mean, this is real poker between these two, right? And Trump refused to show Z his cards. You're not going to see my cards. I'm not going to show you my cards. Why would I do that? You know, I had another one of our recent political leaders been in China or even here having a conversation with Z. I shudder to think how they would have responded to Z's question. You know, the way they are, I've never met them face to face, but the way they are psychologically, emotionally, some of these other so-called leaders, put that word in quotes, I shudder to think how they would respond, right? The result of Trump saying, I don't talk about that, only one person knows that answer, and you know who that is? Me, right? The buck stops here. I'm the only one, so don't bother going to anyone else because I'm the one. And I'm telling you here, I don't talk about that. I'm not going to give you a response, right? That's it. In other words, whatever you're asking me, my answer is, Trump said, no. I'm not playing this game. He decided he remained he remained uncertain, unambiguous or ambiguous. You know what I mean? He was willing to not answer the question, which is great. They're in negotiations, right? They're testing each other out. So the result was, after Trump responded the way he did, I know for a fact, being male, I know for a fact that Z gained more respect for Trump. That's my read on it. And I know he did, because anytime in life when you tell someone no or someone tells you no, what it is they are strengthening their boundaries. In life, you get more from a no than you do from a yes. Someone asks you a question. Can you work overtime tomorrow? No. Period. You don't say, well, no, tomorrow, and then thinking on your feet of some excuse. That's weakness. That's what weakness is. Can you work overtime tomorrow, Jack? No. It's a question, and I'm responding no to it. My no to you keeps my life. It sets up a strong boundary. Okay? No. Right? Z asks you a question, or anyone else. Jack, how much money you have in the bank, or whatever. They ask you a question that you don't want to answer. You tell them no. You find a way to just say no. If it's not no, then it's, one person knows that, and that's me, and I'm not talking, right? But just tell them no. No's a lot easier. No. Next question. You get more in life from a no than you do from a yes. I mean, all this Trump's been doing for years. He is a negotiator extraordinaire. I mean, he's good at it. He's sat at tables with thousands of people, and he has negotiated, and he has made it a career, a part of his life to study human nature. He probably knows himself very well if he's able to read other people so well, because until you know self, you don't know other people at all. And until you know self, you don't know human nature at all either. And if you're going to gain, the highest political position in a country, any country, you're going to be a student of human nature. You have to be. I mean, you would have to be, because, the odds are so stacked against you. A strong no sets boundaries, and real, authentic men know all about boundaries. If you've ever played baseball on a baseball team, football, any kind of sport, if you've ever been in, American public educational system, you learned, hopefully, what boundaries are, and you know what being strong for yourself is. You need to be strong for yourself, as if you are a country of one, because you are. And if your boundaries are weak, you're going to get overrun. Other people are going to pick you apart. They're going to drain you, having you do all kinds of things for them. No. I'm not going to do it. Like the old, remember the old saying, F you, P.S., strong letter to follow? Like that. F you. No, I'm not doing it. P.S., strong letter to follow. I'm not doing it. No. N-O. What part of no do you not understand? Right? It's a great way to keep your life. My God, I remember in the past, like my phone would ring and somebody's got something. Maybe it's a relative, Can you help me do this or do that or whatever? Are you going to come down here? You going to come to my birthday party? No, I'm staying home. I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm not coming down to your birthday party, right? I used to get that phone call. So do you understand, pull the camera back, do you understand how the U.S. as a nation benefits from having strong leadership? Someone who can tell Z and others like him, no. Someone who's able to say that. Someone who's able to negotiate. Someone who's able to talk to people, but not sit around for 3 hours and blab and all that. and not someone who thinks that you can get the enemy across a table and sit and talk to them about our differences. It doesn't work like that. Talk to them about what they want, talk to them about business, talk about how we can make money, talk about how we can have, shared commonality. But you don't go to an aggressive, hostile enemy and think or assume that you're going to be able to sit down across the table and somehow work things out. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that at all. I remember years back, this was 20 years ago, but I remember this one U.S. politician. He was from he was a Democrat president's Secretary of State. And I won't say his name, but he flew to Moscow and he was there to meet Putin. And the man showed up and Putin got the phone call, hey, he's here to see you. And Putin said, fine, I'll be there when I'm able. Putin made that Secretary of State, who shall go unnamed, made him sit in the lobby for 45 minutes, cooling his heels, while Putin just ignored that man, that Secretary of State, for 45 minutes. Just because, just to put him on ice, just to let him know how weak Putin knew that man was, just to set the tone for their exchange. I remember he did that. I remember the papers reported it, and I'm like, yeah, I believe it. Weakness is never respected, not in this world, not even close. Weakness, if you're weak, no one respects that. If you're strong, everyone respects that. So which one do you want? You need strong boundaries. You need to be able to say no, right? So the point is, Trump was confident about responding with an answer that was uncertain, ambiguous. He was like, I am under no obligation at all to give you an answer to what you're asking. You can ask the question, doesn't mean I'm going to answer it. And I may do anything I can to send you off my track, to cover my tracks. I'm not going to reveal my cards to you. Who says I have to? I don't owe that to you. Just because I'm over in China, I'm over in your country, we're having lunch and all these nice things and dinner and tea and we're socializing and there's the cameras and we're posing for pictures. No, I don't care about any of that. I don't care, because Trump pushed for it, probably. China is now going to buy at least 200 Boeing jets. That was one of the deals that came up. Even that, he's like, I don't care. I don't care about that. I'm not telling you anything about what I think and what my opinion is and what I'm going to do as far as Taiwan is concerned. No, that door is locked, right? So psychologically, uncertainty can become a form of power, especially in high-level negotiations, and especially between strong personalities. And if you're the leader of a nation, you are a strong personality. Weak people don't get to be leaders of nations. So the moment you reveal your position, had Trump said, here's my cards, let me show you my cards, you reduce tension completely, you reduce unpredictability, you reveal what you're thinking. And Trump wasn't going to have it. He said no. He found a way to tell him no. No. And one thing Trump has understood for years, whether people love him or hate him, is the psychological effect of remaining unpredictable. He often refuses to emotionally over-explain himself. Some people call him blunt, right? Blunt is good. Who wants to listen to 30 minutes of somebody blah, 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 blabbing? Speaking of which, but you know what I'm saying. Trump's not afraid to leave things unresolved, right? That's something I can work on. I can work on that personally, that I'm not afraid to tell somebody no or to leave things unresolved or to not answer their questions. I don't have to. I'm not applying for a job through you unless I am. If I'm applying for a job, I'll answer the question. But I don't need a job, so I won't be doing that. But some people experience this as confidence. Some people call it dominance. Some people call it, frustration. They get frustrated with certain personality types. But nobody's going to say that's weak. Nobody's going to call Trump weak. And he'll ruffle some feathers. He'll upset some people by everything that he does. Because that's just the way it is being human, We are constantly reacting to emotional signals that are under communication between two people, right? Or more. Not just facts, policy, positioning. And in that moment, Trump communicated something very clearly without saying it. He said, I'm not going to let you control this conversation or me or the country I represent. That's pretty good. In one fell swoop, he strengthened his boundary between he and Z, right? And to me, that's what made this this exchange of theirs it just felt so psychologically strong, right? Which is what we need. And now, whether somebody agrees with Trump politically, that's a different conversation. I'm talking about observing behavior. Okay. And people who are emotionally dependent on approval often over-explain themselves. Say, it's okay. Your one-word answers are fine. You can say no. You can say yes. So it's okay. It's okay to go through life using your power to say no in any situation. No keeps your life your life. You don't have to reveal anything that you don't feel like revealing. And to be honest, that may be the deeper lesson underneath this entire exchange. I'm Jack. Check out my website, jackcarterbooks.com. There may be something there that you will really like. There are some really cool books there. I'll see you on the next one.